Have you ever spent hours studying, practicing, or watching tutorials, only to feel like you're stuck in the same place? You're not alone. Most people waste years learning skills the slow, frustrating way, relying on outdated methods, memorizing useless theory, and giving up right before they're about to succeed. But what if you could hack your brain's natural learning system? Science has uncovered proven strategies to master any skill faster than you ever thought possible. In this video, we're revealing 4 simple methods to break free from average and learn like a pro. Let's get started. The first mistake most learners make is treating their brain like a storage unit. They cram information, reread notes, or binge watch tutorials, thinking that if they consume enough, it will eventually click. But here's the truth: your brain isn't designed to hoard knowledge. It's designed to solve problems. Think about the last time you truly mastered something: a sport, a language, or a recipe. Chances are, it wasn't while you were passively absorbing information. It was when you were in the trenches, making mistakes and figuring things out on the fly. This is because your brain grows stronger not when things are easy, but when they're challenging. Scientists call this desirable difficulty. When learning feels tough, even frustrating, your brain builds new connections, turning struggles into long-term skills. Let's break this down. Imagine 2 people learning to swim. One person watches 100 videos on perfect strokes, reads books about water physics, and takes detailed notes. The other jumps into the pool immediately, flails around, swallows some water, but keeps trying to stay afloat. Who do you think learns faster? The second person, every time. Why? Because they're engaging in active learning, using real-time feedback, adapting their movements, and building muscle memory. The first person is stuck in theory mode, too scared to get wet. The lesson here is simple learning isn't about collecting information. It's about taking action, failing, and adjusting. One effective method to accelerate learning is the 2-minute struggle rule. Every time you learn something new, give yourself 2 minutes to figure it out before seeking help. For example, if you're learning a new language and forget a word, don't instantly grab a dictionary. Pause. Try to describe the word using what you already know. If you're coding and hit an error, don't Google the solution right away. Read the error message, trace your steps, and brainstorm fixes. This 2-minute struggle forces your brain to retrieve information, make connections, and problem-solve key processes that cement knowledge. Studies show that students who attempt problems before being taught the solution perform better long-term. Struggle triggers your brain to save the information, marking it as important. Another powerful strategy is micromastery. Most people quit learning because they set huge, vague goals like becoming fluent in Spanish or learning to code. These goals are overwhelming. Instead, break skills into tiny, actionable chunks you can master in minutes. For example, instead of learning guitar, focus on playing the G chord cleanly in 10 seconds. Instead of becoming a chef, start with chopping onions evenly without crying. These micro wins do 2 things: they prove progress is possible and they create momentum. Each small success releases dopamine, a feel-good chemical that motivates you to keep going. Micro-mastery also helps you avoid burnout. Think of it like climbing a staircase instead of a cliff. 1 step at a time, not a dizzying leap. One of the fastest ways to learn is through the mirror method. When you explain a concept aloud, your brain organizes information more clearly, exposes gaps in your understanding, and strengthens memory. For instance, after learning a math formula, try teaching it to a friend, a pet, or even a rubber duck. If you stumble, you'll instantly know where to focus your practice. This method works because teaching requires you to simplify complex ideas, use examples, and anticipate questions, all of which improve mastery. A Harvard study found that students who taught others scored 30% higher on tests than those who studied solo. The mirror method isn't limited to academic subjects. If you're learning something physical, like dancing or painting, record yourself practicing and watch the playback. You'll notice mistakes you didn't feel in the moment, like slushing during a dance move or using too much paint on a brush. Self-observation is a form of feedback, and feedback is the fuel for improvement. Speaking of feedback, let's talk about the flashlight technique. Imagine walking through a dark forest with a flashlight. You can only see a few steps ahead, but that's enough to keep moving. Learning works the same way. You don't need to master every detail up front. Focus on the next immediate step, then the next. For example, if you're learning photography, start with adjusting brightness on your camera. Once you've got that, ask how to focus the lens. Trying to learn everything at once leads to overwhelm. The flashlight technique keeps you moving forward with clarity. But here's the catch: to use this method, you need to embrace imperfection. Most people stall because they're waiting to feel ready. They think they'll start coding after finishing a Python course or speak Spanish once they know all the verbs. But readiness is a myth. You'll never feel 100% prepared. The best chefs burn their first meals. The best musicians hit wrong notes. Start before you're ready and let feedback guide your growth. Finally, let's address an often overlooked factor: rest. The 90-minute sprint principle states that your brain learns best in short, focused bursts. Research shows that after 90 minutes of intense focus, your productivity crashes. Instead of grinding for hours, work in 90-minute blocks, then take a 20-minute break. During these breaks, do something passive like walk, stretch, daydream. This downtime lets your brain process information, turning short-term memory into long-term skill. Learning isn't about talent or IQ. It's about strategy. Apply these methods, and you'll shock yourself with how quickly you improve. Remember, the goal isn't to never fail. It's to fail faster, adjust, and keep moving. So, what skill will you tackle first?